Ever stop and think about what's stopping you from just falling apart? I mean, you're made of trillions and trillions of individual cells, so why aren't you just a puddle on the floor? It's kind of wild. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the incredible, invisible architecture that holds you and me and all of us together.
So, yeah, why isn't your body just a pile of loose sand? It sounds like a silly question, but honestly, it gets right to the core of what makes us, us. The answer isn't simple. It's this whole complex system of glue and scaffolding and even communication that takes what could be a chaotic mess of cells and turns it into a single working body. So let's start with the first part of that puzzle, the glue.
Okay, so our first stop on this tour is what I like to call the cellular handshake. It all kicks off at the tiniest, most microscopic level with a really simple but profound idea. Cells don't just float around, they actively reach out and connect with each other. You can almost think of it like a massive body-wide social network.
Right, the fancy term for this is cell adhesion. And look, calling it the body's fundamental glue is a great start, but it's so much more than that. This is, and this is no exaggeration, the process that makes all multicellular life possible. Without it, no tissues, no organs, and, well, no you. It's that big of a deal.
So how does this cellular glue actually work? Well, it's not one single substance. Think of it more like a whole toolkit of specialized proteins that live on the surface of our cells. And honestly, the best analogy for it is molecular Velcro. It's perfect, right? Because just like real Velcro, these proteins have these specific little hooks and loops that let them grab onto each other in very, very specific ways.
All right, let's meet the main players in this adhesion game. First up, you've got cadherins. Just think of these as the superglue, the glue sticks of your body. They form these really strong, permanent bonds between one cell and another. Then you've got integrants. These are your anchors. Their job is to connect cells to the larger framework around them. And finally, there are the selectins. These are the rolling grips, which is a great name for them. They're all about temporary sticking, which is super important for things like your immune cells that need to grab on, do their job, and then move on.
So these molecules don't just work alone. They team up to form these bigger structures called junctions. And there are basically four main ways cells connect. First, you have the zipper, or tight junctions. These literally zip cells together so tightly that nothing can leak between them, super important in, say, your gut. Then there's the belt, or adherence junctions, which kind of wraps around cells to reinforce them. Number 3 is the spot weld, also known as desmosomes. These are for pure, brute strength in tissues that get pulled and stretched a lot, like your skin or your heart. And last but not least, the tunnel or gap junctions. These are actual channels that let cells talk to each other and pass signals and nutrients back and forth.
Okay, so we've got cells sticking to each other. That's a huge piece of the puzzle, but it's only half the story. What about all the space between the cells? Turns out that space isn't empty at all. It's filled with our body's internal scaffolding.
This scaffolding has a name, the extracellular matrix, or ECM for short. And I love this jelly donut analogy. If the cells are the donut, the ECM is the jelly filling. It provides structure, support, and just plain old bulk. But here's the part that just blows my mind. The cells themselves actually build and secrete all this non-living stuff around them. They create their own environment to live in. How cool is that?
Now this ECM gel isn't just some random goo. It has its own key building blocks. Let's meet the two superstars, collagen and elastin. Collagen is all about strength. Think of it like the steel cables in a suspension bridge. It gives your tissues incredible tensile strength. It's why your skin and bones are so tough. And then you have elastin, which is basically the exact opposite. It's the elastic band of the body. It allows tissues, like your lungs or your blood vessels, to stretch way out and then snap right back into place.
Now, it's really easy to think of the ECM as just filler, just packing material. But that would be a huge mistake. This is an incredibly active, dynamic place. For one, it's filled with these amazing molecules called protoglycans that act like a cushy, water-filled sponge, perfect for cushioning our joints. The ECM also lays down pathways that guide cells where they need to go, especially during development or when you're healing. And yeah, it's constantly being remodeled, just like a construction site, always adapting to what the body needs.
Okay, so let's recap. We've got cells that can stick to each other using that molecular Velcro, and we have the scaffolding, the ECM, that they build and live in. So what happens when you put those two things together? Well, you get the final masterpiece. You get tissues.
And here's one of my favorite biological facts. As complex as we are,
Our entire bodies are built from just 4 fundamental types of tissue. That's it. You've got epithelial tissue, which is all your coverings and linings, like your skin. You have connective tissue, which is your support structure, think bone and cartilage. Muscle tissue, which is pretty self-explanatory, it's for movement. And finally, nervous tissue, which is the body's wiring and communication network.
And this is so cool because it perfectly shows off the 2 different strategies we've been talking about. Take epithelial tissue, like your skin. It's basically all cells, just packed in super tight, held together by all those junctions we just learned about. There's hardly any ECM. But then you look at connective tissue, like the cartilage in your nose. It's the complete opposite. It's got a few scattered cells floating around in a ton of ECM. All of its properties, its firmness, its flexibility, come from the scaffolding, not really the cells.
So this whole system is beautiful and intricate when it's working. But what happens when this invisible architecture starts to fail? As you can probably guess, the results aren't pretty. The integrity of this system is absolutely critical to our health.
Let's just look at a few examples of what can go wrong. If those cell adhesion molecules in your skin are faulty, you can get these terrible blistering disorders where the layers of your skin literally just separate and fall apart. If the ECM in your joints starts to degrade and break down, well, that's arthritis. And if the whole process of tissue repair goes haywire and the architecture gets all disorganized, that can lead to fibrosis, which is basically harmful scarring in crucial organs like your lungs or liver.
But here's the good news, the really hopeful part. The more we understand this architecture, the better we get at figuring out how to fix it. This knowledge is literally the foundation of a whole field called tissue engineering, growing new skin for burn victims or new cartilage in a lab. And it's even helping us in the fight against cancer. A key step for cancer to spread is for the tumor cells to break their connections and wander off. So if we can figure out how to reinforce those connections, we might just be able to lock that cancer in place.
So when you boil it all down, it comes back to this one fundamental idea. It's the combination of cell adhesion, that extracellular matrix, and the way they're organized into tissues. That's what takes life from just being a single cell and turns it into a complex, coordinated working body. They are, quite literally, the invisible architects of you.
And that really leaves us with a pretty mind-bending question for the future, doesn't it? We're really just starting to learn how to speak this cellular architectural language. So what happens if we become fluent? If we can one day truly master it, what are the limits? Could we tell our bodies to regenerate a damaged organ? Could we instruct our tissues to reverse the aging process? The possibilities, well, they're as vast and as complex as the very body they're a part of.